Okay, so this is gonna be like a two-part book review thing. Partly for We Miss Reading Rainbow, and partly just for myself and what I've been reading lately. If you haven't checked out We Miss Reading Rainbow, please check it out. It's really cool. A bunch of awesome people that read books and love reviewing them, and it's just a really good community. And I mean, I was waiting for a while for community to come around about books. I mean, I talk about books all the time. Maybe we could start a history community. Hey, anybody? Anyhow, so the first book I'm going to review is 1984 by George Orwell. Now, I read this in high school. I read it twice because I needed to reread it. That's like one of the big high school books you read along with like Catcher in the Rye, all that type of stuff. Now, I'd recommend reading this book. Um, it's really kind of an eye opener to what the future could really be, and I could see it heading in that direction in a sense. Because we do, like, what we are working for right now, well, a lot of people don't want to admit it, but we are turning to a form of communism. We want everyone to be equal, and that's what communism is. So, this type of uh, world in 1984 is like a dictatorship where you have this group called Big Brother. And they basically are watching you all the time, controlling what you do. Like, even the genders aren't even, like, identified anymore. You're a citizen. And that's all you are. And it's an interesting book to read. It's kind of depressing in parts, almost. Like, you really don't want the world to end up that way, right? Kind of relates to V for Vendetta, which is kind of the same thing. I totally consider that a huge Big Brother government um, idea. I really actually enjoyed V for Vendetta. And then when I compared the two, it just really, I like used it in essays and everything. It was great. It just made it like that much more interesting, right? If you find there's a topic that you're finding it hard to talk about, as soon as you can relate it to something that you're really excited about, it just sends it up higher. The ending in this, a lot of people are like, I hated it, or I thought it was great. I thought it was satisfactory, and it's meant to be like that, but it doesn't mean I liked it. Um, it's kind of like one of those things you always wish you could go and talk to the author and ask and be like, why did you put this? Or tell me more, But you never can, and that's kind of like the great thing about books. You can't do that. It'd be great to do that, but I think it's almost good that you can't, because then you're left thinking and you're always thinking about it, and it just sparks more ideas. The second book I want to talk about is one that we're currently reading in my English class, and it's this one here, Into the Great Wide Open by Kevin Canty. Now, I'm not particularly fond of this book, although I've grown more towards it than I did initially. Today was our first discussion of it in class, and the class pretty much ripped it apart. I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, it's ultimately the cliche teenager, hard life, 17-year-olds going through stuff, drugs, pregnancy, sex. Like, seriously, this book is like softcore porn, I swear to God. I do like some parts in it, though, regardless, and I really connected to Catcher in the Rye, because there's even parts, like, you can tell the person that wrote this was an English major, because he refers to, like, Joyce, like James Joyce, and, as well as, like, Catcher in the Rye, when the teacher pulls him aside, like, a lot of the same things happen. A lot of people aren't really giving the author credit for his actual writing, I think. There's some parts that are really good. I'm going to see if I can find one here to read to you. Here's just a little paragraph. Kenny had a scientific approach to girls, a two-axis system. Girls were available, unavailable, or unknown. They were also desirable, undesirable, or unknown. You could plot the variables. For instance, he had just spent the summer as a lifeguard at a country club, staring down through his black sunglasses at a pool deck full of desirable unavailables in $70 swimsuits. All summer he watched their bodies, aimed his desire at them, but they were impervious, waterproof. His gaze slid off them. By the end of the summer, they were unreal as TV faces. Also, whenever they dressed, or drove, or talked to one another, they never talked to Kenny. They mostly turned to undesirable unavailables. This was the biggest category: cheerleaders, young Republicans. They didn't care for Kenny. Kenny didn't care for them. They were fine, as long as they were bodies. They were beautiful. Undesirable, available. It was a shifty line, especially at parties. Either half of the equation could change. That's what Kenny liked. The moment, the invisible line when things got unclear and suddenly then shifted into unknown. Available, unknown. Desirable, unknown. It was like girls who wore glasses. They took them off when they were kissing, when they were doing things, or sometimes Kenny took them off. Partly they were in the way, of course, but partly the glasses came off because it was better not to know. It was better not to name things, just to let touch guide them, skin on skin. And then it carries on with unknown. What I like about him is when I read books, I love to read them out loud. It makes me understand them more. I follow them better. And this book is interesting to read out loud. It's really like having a conversation with a person. And it's bang on to like thoughts. Although I find it's very much in the male perspective. I feel a bit awkward reading it sometimes because it's very explicit in ways. Because not saying that every guy is the same, but you do get that drive for sex that a lot of women don't have. And I personally don't have that. And I don't think about it nonstop, and that's not like when I see a guy, I'm not like, oh, I want to do him. Like, it's not like that every 2 minutes. And this really, he has a drive for this girl. It's really interesting. I think I'm more fascinated in the words than I am in the story. The story's kind of going in a circle. Never-ending narcissism type thing we were talking about in class. I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's interesting. If you like angsty type stuff, I guess this is for you. But it is very, very cliche. And I still think people should give it a chance. I just don't think it's brought something new to the table. But then again, I'm not finished it yet. Okay, now I just talked for like a long time. So this is like my first official book review video, and there will be more for the We Miss Reading Rainbow thing. I intend to read every book. I'm probably going to get She Came Undone this weekend. That's one of the other books on the list. I actually haven't read that yet, and I heard it was pretty good, so we'll see how that goes. And if you have any other books to suggest to me, please do down there.